Okay, let's get started. Welcome to Junior Makers, everybody. My name is Kim. I am one of the community learning specialists here at DoSpace. Just so you know, I'm going to be going video free today and just be using sharing my screen with you. So we are going to be doing, this is our Junior Makers webinar. So thanks for coming and joining us today. So usually we have our junior makers every Wednesday at 5, and every month is a different theme. And so for our month of April, our theme, or basically activity, is we are making our articulated grabber. So we're definitely making that today. We might be doing some different things coming up in April. I might have some guest makers come in just because it's a little bit tricky to do a webinar, like kind of a step-by-step webinar with a maker activity. But with what we're doing today, if you don't have everything, all the materials need, that's okay. We will eventually be putting this on our YouTube channel, our DoSpace YouTube channel. So if you get behind, or if you don't have everything, that's okay. If you wait a day or two, it'll show up. Our video will show up on our DoSpace YouTube channel, and then you will be able to follow along, pause, go back, and things like that. So let's get started. So today we are making an articulated grabber. So we are making cardboard articulated grabber, and I got this activity, this project from Lance Makes for Instructables.com. So if you actually go to Instructables and if you search for articulated grabber, you should be able to find this activity pretty quickly. It's a really fun one. It's easy. Most of the things you should have just around the house. There might be a few things you might not have. I'm going to give some suggestions of how you might be able to use other things, other materials you might have, or if you get a chance to maybe order online, or if you have a chance to, like, if you're going to the grocery store for your groceries, for your weekly groceries, and you're like, I'm going to stop by the, office supply section, you might have to do that. But otherwise, everything for what we're making today, you should have around the house. So let's have a look at what we're making today. So this is kind of a picture of what we're making today. It is a articulated grabber, just made out of cardboard, rubber bands, some tape. We have a few fasteners. I'm going to go through that list. But my first question, or maybe first thing I want to kind of talk to you about, is the word articulated. So what does articulated mean? I could have just said it's just like a fun grabber that we'd be able to make, a cardboard grabber. But this one is cool because it's articulated. And basically articulated just means something that has two or more, something that's connected with two or more flexible joints. So like something that is articulated, even just that we see and use every day, for example, is our hands. Our hands are articulated. They're made up of joints. So we're able to bend our fingers at all of those joints, grasp things, because our fingers are articulated. They have one or more joints that are able to bend in a flexible way. So that is what the meaning of articulated is. And the cool thing about this is that our articulated grabber, it bends and kind of moves at these joints. You can kind of see where these little the fasteners are. Those are the places where our grabber will kind of move and not so much bend, but just kind of move at those joints to be able to be that articulated, to be a grabber. So that is what we are making today. So what do we need? What are the materials that we need for our articulated grabber? So these are basically all the things you will need for our articulated grabber. So you will need some clean, unbent cardboard. You want to make sure that your piece, your cardboard is at least 10 inches long. So because the pieces that you'll need need to be at least 10 inches long. And you will want to make sure, that it's clean, unbent, things like that. Corrugated, you'll probably want, you'll want to make sure it's corrugated. Maybe you don't want to use like the cardboard from cereal boxes. You'll want to use that cardboard that you might be getting from packages. So hopefully you have some of that lying around. You'll need some paint stirrers. So, you know, have you had some painting projects recently? You probably got some paint stirrers if you have been doing some painting. So, and even if you, you know, even if they have a little bit of paint on them, that's okay. Some other things you might be able to use is you know, you need a ruler anyway. Maybe you can use your ruler for this because it's going to be the handle. We're just going to be taping it. Everything we're going to be doing today isn't permanent. Most things are, you know, you are kind of taped together. So you could be able to use, if you have a couple of other rulers, that could be your handle. Something else, if you have some like wooden spoons at home, those would be really great alternatives for the handle that you could use instead of if you don't have those paint stirrer sticks. So those are some different options that you could use. You're going to need a ruler, or, you know, maybe you have measuring tape, something just to measure out where you need to cut your, how you need to cut your cardboard. You're going to need some scissors, you know, sometimes scissors are kind of hard. It's kind of hard to cut scissors with cardboard, or cut cardboard with scissors. So a utility knife, box knife, something like that. Maybe with your grown-ups' help would also be very good to cut that cardboard. You're going to need a sharpened pencil, not just to mark, but we're going to be using the sharpened pencil to help kind of make some holes in our corrugated cardboard. We're going to need some tape. So I have masking tape or painter's tape. You know, you can even use, you know, if you have things that you don't need to use again, you know, maybe you have some extra stirrers and you're like, I don't need to use these stirrers again. And you have some maybe duct tape. You know, duct tape's a little bit more permanent. It kind of leaves some residues. So you might not want to use duct tape if you're using kind of wooden spoons that you might want to use again. You might want to use painter's tape or masking tape, something that's easy to come back, you know, untape again. But some kind of tape to tape your some of your pieces together. So a 1.5 metal fastener. So those are these things right up here. So I think you can see my mouse kind of circling over the items, these fasteners. So kind of like brad fasteners that look like a T. These are one of the items that you might not just have lying around the house, which is totally okay. So these are going to be the things that kind of create the movement at the joints where we put our pieces of cardboard together. And so you might not necessarily have these. So if you don't, that's okay. My other suggestion is if you have some extra paper clips, you can straighten out one of the ends of the paper clips, keeping kind of one of the, you know, probably like the smaller part, curved like it is, and then kind of that outer part, that longer part that comes out, you straighten that out and you put that through your cardboard and then tape it down. We'll kind of talk about that later. Even if you have some extra screws and nuts, those could, you know, you could screw and nut that together, or pieces of cardboard together. You know, if you're a really handy person and you have that kind of stuff out in a toolbox, absolutely, you could use that as well. So those are kind of my other options that you could use if you don't have the metal fasteners readily available. You're going to need a rubber band. I have 3.5 inches, you know, something that's, you know, you don't want just like a really small, thin one. You're going to want one that, you know, if you're just kind of, if you pull it, you know, not stretched it, but kind of pulled it to its natural length of it, and it was around 3.5 inches, and kind of a little bit on the thicker side in terms of the width of your rubber band. You just don't want something that's going to snap easy because it's going to stretch. So you'll need a rubber band, and you're going to need some string. And so the length of the string is going to be up to you. So I would say at least a 10-inch, 12-inch piece of string. And then some craft items, because the craft items, this craft sticks, foam paper, paper clips, other craft items, those are how you're going to customize the kind of the grabber part of it, or what helps you kind of grab things. And then some items that you want to pick up and so, or grab for and kind of test out. So this is my list of things that you might need, well, you would need to make our articulated grabber. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is cut out your pieces of cardboard. So you're going to want to need, like I said, about a 10-inch piece of cardboard that are about an inch and a half wide. So you can kind of do it with how you can see in our picture where you open up your scissors and kind of use that to cut through the cardboard, or if you have a utility knife and a cutting mat, that would be easy as well. And again, if we're on the younger side, definitely want to have an adult help us with that as well. And you would, for the strongest grabber, you want to make sure that you're cutting along the corrugation. So you can kind of see in this lower picture how this at the short end, you can kind of see that the waviness of the corrugation. So you want to kind of cut along with the corrugation and not against it. So the long side, you want to cut with the corrugation. So then the short side, you kind of see that waviness of the corrugation. So then for each one, you are going to need about 5 pieces of these cardboard. So 3 of them are going to be the 10 inches long by 1.5 inches, and then 2 pieces are going to be about 5 inches long by 1.5 inches. So if you were to cut out basically 4 pieces of cardboard that are 10 by 1.5 and then cut one of them in half, then you will be good to go. So this is going to be your kind of your basic or your frame of your articulated grabber. And then we want to poke holes in our cardboard. So the holes are where you're going to be putting your fasteners, or maybe your like I said, the alternatives if you don't have the fasteners, paper clips, screw and bolt, things like that. So you can see here that in our 2 shorter pieces, our 2 smaller pieces, there's a hole on each end, and the hole should be like right in the middle, about 1/2 inch in to the edge. And then for our long pieces, you can see that for both of them, there's one that's right in the middle, and then on one side, there's one hole. Notice that we don't have holes on both sides, just the one side. And then also note that our 3rd long piece, there's no holes at all. So notice how there's no holes. So we want one with no holes, 2 long pieces that have a hole in the middle and hole on one end, and then our 2 shorter pieces, we want 1 hole on each end. And so a tip that is given is that if you have kind of an extra piece of the cardboard, put that underneath your strips of cardboard so that when you put your holes, it's easier to pierce through. And if you don't have a pencil, maybe you have some scissors or something pokey that you can put through. Maybe a nail would work as well. If you have maybe a toolkit, sometimes toolkits have an awl, to help poke holes through. So any of those kind of things would work to kind of get a hole through your pieces of cardboard. So let's build that handle. So as you can kind of see here, you can kind of see this is going to be the handle of our grabber. So this is why I said, if you have other things like a ruler or wooden spoon, something like that, and you're using tape around it, the masking tape would be fine. It's, these don't have to be permanent. Obviously there's some, you can always kind of disassemble and reassemble as needed. So if you maybe in the future need to use these stirring sticks again, you can. So you want to overlap the stir sticks for about 4 inches. So you can kind of see how we have one end of our stirring stick kind of on top. They're not just end to end, they are overlapping on top of each other for about 4 inches. And then you want to wrap tightly that tape around in 2 places. So that's going to really kind of give a nice good hold and make it nice and sturdy while you are trying to grab and pick things up. So just put a few pieces of tape around it just to make it nice and sturdy. And so this is where the assembly really is kind of come into place. So you're going to take the piece of cardboard that doesn't have any holes. Remember how there was that one piece of long cardboard that we didn't have any holes in it, and you're going to bend that in half. And so you can kind of see how it's bent over the end of that, your one end. It doesn't matter which end of your handle, but just over one end of your handle. And you want to overlap it with like most of it. So, but you want to leave kind of like an inch of the folded knot on top. So think of it as like, you don't want the edge of your cardboard, the fold of your cardboard, right up against the edge of your stick. You want there to be a gap between the edge of your stick and the fold of your cardboard, because we're going to poke a hole through that cardboard, and if your wooden stick goes all the way to the end of your cardboard, obviously you're not going to be able to poke a hole through both sides of the cardboard, because we're going to be sticking one of those fasteners through. And so again, you can't get a fastener through that thick wood, so you want to make sure there's a bit of a almost a lip of our cardboard. And then you are going to want to put a hole through both sides of that cardboard, so kind of straight through. And you'll just tape it on. So what you can kind of see here, you're just going to want to make sure that there's a piece of tape that wraps around the entire thing, around the cardboard and your wooden stick. But also you can see how they put a piece of tape. When I've made this in the past, I've had our kiddos put a piece of tape on each side, not just one. So just, again, basically the more tape you put on it, the more sturdy and stable it's going to be. And so now we are going to assemble. And so what you are going to do, so you want to assemble with kind of have you seen. So we're going to take the last two long pieces of cardboard, and you're going to make an X. So you can kind of see how there's an X. And so you want the sides that have the holes that you put their holes through towards your handle. You can kind of see how we have our handle to the left. We want the sides that have the holes towards our handle, and then you put that X through, and you're going to put your fastener through basically both pieces of that long cardboard, and then through the hole of the folded cardboard that you attach to your stick. So, and that's, and you want to make sure that whenever you fold either your fastener, like the tabs, when you flatten them out on the back side, that you want to put a piece of tape on that back side. Otherwise, your grabber might get undone. And so again, if you're using maybe, if you're using like a screw and a nut, you probably won't have to use tape, obviously, because you're kind of, screwing it on. If you're using that, a paper clip, you're kind of unbending one side of that paper clip and putting it through, and then rebending it so it's flush against that cardboard, and then you'll definitely want to tape it then. So just note that if you're using a paper clip, it's probably not going to be as sturdy as if you had something a little bit more solid, like these fastener tabs or the like a screw and a nut. So keep that in mind. And then you're going to take your two pieces, your two smaller pieces, and basically you're just going to attach them to the, like where the holes are. So putting one end onto your long piece, and then connecting the other ends of the short pieces together. So you can kind of see how we have one short piece connected to one long piece with a fastener tab, and then putting tape on the back, and then another short piece connected to the other long piece and taped on the back, and then the two short pieces, their ends put together and fastened together. So yeah, so that's how you put those together. And then, and I don't have any text with this just because I felt like it was good. You probably didn't need text, and the pictures would be good. So now you can put your rubber bands. So basically you're going to take your rubber bands and you're going to wrap your rubber band around the middle two fasteners, like the kind of the heads of the middle two fasteners. So you can kind of see in the second picture over here how the grabber part, the articulated grabber is kind of folded upwards so that the rubber band can go around each of the heads of the fasteners. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to tie that piece of string that you have around that bottom middle fastener. So then, because once you pull that back, the ends of our grabber are going to come together, which is really cool. So this kind of gives it that, I guess for lack of a better term, like buoyancy or kind of that back and forthness. So it's not just loosey-goosey as you're trying to pull something. So if you just had that string, it kind of gives it a tautness, a tension, that's the word I'm looking for. It gives it tension so you're able to grab things easier. The rubber band does that. And then so that string is kind of like the pulley part of it. So you're going to pull it, and then the ends of your grabber will come together. And then after that, this is kind of where your creativity can come into play, because this is where you can kind of like experiment. What do you have around the house that you need to grab? Maybe there's something, you know, under the fridge. I know I have a baby, and sometimes her baby bottles lids go right under that fridge. And I'm like, how am I going to get this? Or maybe you need something under the couch, or maybe something's behind the bed, the back part of your bed that you need to grab. And how can you change the end of your grabbers to make sure that you can grab those things? Or maybe you could test, what's the heaviest thing you can grab? What's the lightest thing? What's the smallest thing? You can kind of see how in our pictures here, in one, we have some foam, so it's going to cause a lot of friction. So something that might be really slick, some foam might be good to grab on with, because that foam will kind of cause some friction to be able to grab better. This one over here with our paper clips, they kind of hardened out the paper clips on this picture. So this looks like something that if it had, something with a lip, you might be able to grab pretty easily, or something that was smaller, you'd be able to grab easily. And then in this bottom one, they used a little bit, they used some extra, looks like they used some extra cardboard, some craft stick, and some foam. And I bet they would, you'd be able to grab something maybe bigger, maybe like a ball or a can, maybe a, lid. Really, this is really great, because not only is there a practical side of this craft where you can, pick things up, but this is, a great time to go around the house, go outside, in your backyard and experiment. What can you pick up with your grabbers? And if you can't pick something up, how do you change it? How do you problem solve? And how would you change the design of the end of it so you could grab that thing that you couldn't grab before? And, some things are going to be potentially too heavy, because even though if you use really solid cardboard, it's still, it's not going to be able to lift, like a 20-pound something. But test it out. What is the heaviest thing you can find? Maybe you have a scale around the house, and after you lift something, you can test and see, weigh it. How heavy was it? Can you find something else around the house that you can also, that's heavier, that you can also pick up with that? What's the smallest thing, because that's going to make a difference. Something big with an easy kind of like ledge to grab onto, that's going to be easier than something with smooth sides, or something that's round, or something that doesn't have a ledge to hold on to. So how would you change your design and make it different so you are able to grab it? And so friends, that's basically it. That's my webinar for you. So again, I'm going to actually really quickly, I am going to share with you in our chat, and I meant to do this earlier. In our chat, I am going to share with you the website that I got this from. So the Instructable website. And it's really great because Instructables, it has so many different projects that people can do. A lot of it, you can find things that are, again, just stuff around the house. And if you don't have everything, experiment. Figure out what do you have around your house that you can substitute for, because that's kind of fun. That problem solving, it gets your engineer brain going, problem solving brain going. See what you can find. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about this, please email us at hello@dospace.org. Again, I would say the next couple of days, this video will be up on our YouTube channel, our DoSpace YouTube channel. So if you search DoSpace Omaha, you should be able to find our channel, and you can see all of our different webinars. You'll also be able to find the Junior Maker webinar for our cardboard automata, which is a lot of fun as well. So yeah, hopefully you can join us again for our next one. I am trying to get a guest maker for next week. We will see if I can get them for next week. Hopefully I can. But if not, we'll be doing this activity again if you missed it. So I hope everyone has a good rest of your day, has a fun time making, and stay safe out there. And we will see you next time. Have a good one.